What is up, everybody? Guys, today we are going to be estimating a room together. And this is kind of a fun thing that we do just to help give people an insight into how it works to be a professional painting estimator in the 21st century. We are going to do this room over here. We're calling it the green room. And yeah, welcome Connor, Michael. Let's do this. So can you guys see this here? Beautiful green room. So we our customer here is wants us to get rid of this green paint the ceiling, paint out the trim. So let's talk about how to do this here. You want to take first crack at it, Connor? You're our guest here today. So what are you doing? You're walking into this room. Walk us through every step of your thought process as you're pricing that out.
Oh dear Lord, it's the first thing I would think. Think is the key word there. Secondly, I would say, well, what's your vision for this room, John?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like
get rid of the green color and make it look nice.
What color are you thinking? You know, just to set a baseline. I mean,
so we're gonna do like nice light gray.
Okay.
Like that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Light gray and trim. Let's keep it, white on the trim, but it needs to be fixed up.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Any accent walls?
No accent walls. Just straight one color. We just we want it all the same.
Okay, so the first thing I'm going to look at and talk to the client is the things that they don't think about. Interior of the closet would be key. How many trim colors? And then usually before I even go through the rooms, I'm getting a sense of what kind of sheen they want based on their lifestyle. Hey, do you have kids or pets? Well, you probably want satin from Sherwin-Williams or an eggshell from Benjamin Moore on the walls, So I've usually already established that before I even enter the first room of their house, just to set a baseline. So I don't have to ask them every single room what sheen they want.
Hey, Connor, real quick, can you talk about how that sheen might affect your pricing, or are you just having a conversation that really doesn't affect pricing? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so usually the sheen, it's like $1 per gallon as long as you're in the same product line. So I'm not too concerned about that, but I am more concerned. So we might predominantly use Sherwin-Williams paint, but I'm never going to tell a client what to use as long as it's not something garbage. So I'll ask them right away, well, do you have a paint brand you prefer? They'll say most of the time Benjamin Moore, Sherwin-Williams, And if they say no preference, then I'd say, how about Sherwin-Williams? Would that work for you? Let's say they say yes to that. I say, well, do you have kids or pets, or do you think you might be a little hard on your walls? Well, then I might recommend a satin finish, And I find 9 times out of 10, clients do not care about the line of paint. We only use premium grade, so super paint, duration, emerald, So it makes it very easy. Our production rates are based off the cost of super paint on walls, emerald on trim, and I think it's called Pro Ceiling on the ceiling. So standard ceiling paint. If somebody wants something else, I have to figure out the gallon cost and adjust proportionately based on what they want and based on how much it costs us to procure that paint. So those are the things I know already to be true, But that's something you have to know before you even go to a bid. You can't just make it up on the spot.
Right. Okay. So assuming it's standard for you, standard paint.
Yeah.
Let's start pricing this thing. And I'm going to get you some dimensions too, just so we know what those are. So let's add those in. So we're going to take from here. So we got 10 feet from there. And then here.
13, 14.
It's hard with this view. Yeah, 10 by 10 actually.
10 by 10?
Pretty well.
Okay.
Yeah, 10 by 10.
Yeah, it does look pretty small.
Yeah.
So, obviously I use production rates for everything. But if I was eyeballing it, I'd probably put in 3.5 hours of priming because of the bold color on the walls. We use a standard 1 hour of coverage for items and flooring on every single room, which is built into the wall production rate.
How do you guys do that? For those who are kind of new to production rates, can you explain that just a little bit?
Yeah, so we know that every room takes around a 10 by 12 to maybe even a 13 by 12 room or smaller takes about an hour to cover the furniture and cover the flooring. Anything beyond that, we add time to it to calculate, like, let's see, there might be 3 holes behind that mirror on the left, 1 hole behind the one on the right, and so on and so forth. So I have to add time proportionate to preparation work beyond just a quick cover and maybe 3 nail holes. That's about what's usually included in our 1 hour of prep in a room. And then anything beyond that, I have to add time to.
And are you doing that by, 15-minute increments, half an hour, just kind of eyeballing? How do you do that?
Half an hour to hour.
Yeah.
So sometimes, like, okay, let's say that is a oil base on that door. Well, our production rate says the room side of a door takes 1 hour to put 2 coats on. So what I would do is I would add half an hour, maybe even, 3/4 of an hour to degloss it or prime it, oil prime it, and then put on the 2 coats, just to give myself a little bit of coverage per door. There's a lot of factors that go in there, when you're looking at it, because not everything's just latex nowadays. I work in a lot of old homes, so those are the things I have to think about are, is it oil paint? How complex is the door? Or the windows? Are they wood or are they aluminum, vinyl, fiberglass? Like here they look vinyl to me, so it looks like it's just a little bit of trim around it, but it's hard to tell.
Yeah, it looks like it's a little trim, maybe trim on top and bottom. Okay, so let's assume, just so we can kind of give people an idea of pricing, not even pricing, but just like time, like quickly, standard process for you, no real additional prep other than covering.
Okay,
got a 10 by 10 room.
Great. Yeah, so I would say 3 hours of priming, 6.5 hours to paint the walls, 3 hours to paint the ceiling. There are 1, 2, 3 doors, room facing side, so it looks like a double door and an entry door.
Correct.
3 hours for that.
Yep.
That's a 1.5 door frame, I would call it, as in it's covering a double door plus 1. So I would say I would add that 2 hours of labor for that, 3 hours for the base molding, and then if there's just a little bit of trim, like a window sill, I'd probably do 1.5 hours for that. I hope somebody was adding that.
I'm trying.
Michael, I hope you were adding it.
I was trying to write. So I had
9.5 hours for the walls, 3 hours for the ceiling.
Yep, 12.5, 3 for the doors, 15.5. Door trim and base was another 5 combined, 2 and 3. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's what I said.
Right. Yeah.
So I think I'm at like 20.5 plus 1.5 for the sill.
Yeah, I bet my production rate would say 21 to 23 hours to paint this.
I think you just gave me about 22, just, when we're just going off.
Yeah, and that's off of, I've just used my own rates for so long that I could do some of it in my head.
Cool.
But also those are fact checked every single month.
Yeah. So your gut,
cool.
Without getting into pricing, but you're probably in the neighborhood of $1,500 to $2,000 for this room. Does that seem about what your gut would say?
Winter rate, yeah, $1,400 to $1,500. If we're basing, let's say, $60 to $65 an hour, approximately.
Yep. Michael, how do you feel about that?
Good. Yeah, I mean, good. Most of the stuff we would be pretty aligned with. I'm thinking about how would we do it. So we'd have, I think I measured about 320 square feet on the walls. So, I'm saying it's 8 feet tall. It looks kind of like it to me. So we're in the neighborhood of about, without getting a calculator out, let's call that 4 hours. I'm at like another 2. That's for 2 coats plus another 2.5 to prime. We always do our standard 3 hours for room setup and cleanup. So that's going to be what Connor was talking about. It's going to be basic wall prep, protect the floors, furniture, and then put it all back, clean up our supplies, equipment, those types of things. So I'm at 6.5, 9.5. I've got about 3 to do the baseboards, about 3 or so to do the doors. The closet doors are a little, I might need a little more time on those. But let's just keep moving here. 1.5 or so for the door trim, another probably 1.5 hours for ceiling. If I'm just painting the windowsill, let's call it a half hour, somewhere in there. Call it 2 plus 6, 8, 9. I'm at like 18, if I'm doing that math in my head right.
18, yeah.
18, 19, somewhere in there. So yeah, we're pretty darn close. I mean,
Pretty close, man.
you know, we're doing this quick too. So
this is quick. And for those who are listening in for the first time, I mean, we all use production rates, and we'll back check all this, but that gives you kind of a quick insight into, you know, how a couple of professional painting estimators are going to estimate this room. And hopefully you found that helpful. Hopefully, if you like it, you'll subscribe, follow along. We'd love to keep making this content. So leave your comments down below if you think we're crazy. We'd love to know it. Let the debate begin. Thanks, Connor. Thanks, Michael. It's always fun. Take it easy.
Stuff.